You can't have sex with my brother.
Why? He's a swimmer at Columbia.
By athletic body standards, he's probably the most fuckable human alive.
What are you talking about?
All I'm saying is the backstroke will come in handy.
This is exactly why I'm a lesbian.
Well, yeah, we all knew you were a lesbian when you first watched Rachel Maddow.
I do love that woman.
Goodbye Sam was a really interesting piece. You did a great job with the pacing of this piece and establishing the story to the point where at the end you're rooting for Sam to kind of like get her shit together. But it's also really valuable to see a flawed character because that's where you can really lean into the comedy and find the comedy and make the most out of it. Really fun characters, really fun biting dialogue. At the same time with the dialogue, there were some audio issues, so you may want to go back and post and work on editing it. There's just some parts where the background audio is going over it, so it should be a pretty easy fix. If not, having some of them come back and key in the audio just to make this the best piece that it can be. But other than that, I think this was a really fun, funny piece, and it has a lot of potential. Really well done.
I definitely enjoyed my time with Goodbye Sam. One of the things that I definitely enjoyed was a lot of the B-roll shots, a lot of the cinematography. Also, the ending is definitely very tragic. The consequences of her actions, and it all kind of led up to that point. It was a very bittersweet ending, but all in all, I definitely enjoyed my time.
Goodbye, Sam. Well, this had a nice opening scene of Sam out on the balcony with the city lights around her at night. That was beautiful. Nice acting jobs by everybody all around. The women were especially strong, I felt. The volume, the sound was in and out for some of the dialogue, especially on the moment with the couch with Sam and Nora. And then the soundtrack overlay seemed to be in front of their voices, so there were responses. I missed I had the volume right up, but still I felt it was more drama than comedy, but there were funny lines, and there was a good romantic dilemma taking place, and I did like the exit scene when Ava was leaving. Her dialogue was great. Thank you.
It was a very nicely done piece. It was nicely written, and great performance by the cast. And at the end, you're really rooting for Sam, really hoping that she can kind of get it together. I'd be curious to know if this is perhaps a first installment or what have you of a web series, because I'd like to see what happens next. But it definitely kind of leaves you hanging, wanting you to know, where she's going to go from here, which is good, leaving us wanting more. So, it's a nice job all around. It was nicely paced. Good performance by the actors. It was really nicely directed. So, good job on this, and continued luck with it. I hope it does well for you.
All right, I just finished watching Goodbye Sam, which I thought was like a really interesting, grounded, and a relatable piece about relationships. And I thought it was an interesting piece mainly because of how they approach the dynamic between the two leads in terms of expected roles, how you should act, and what you should expect. And I thought they had a really interesting way of approaching sort of how a relationship that might not seem sort of outwardly toxic has a lot of underlying themes and dynamics that make both people unhappy. And I thought that the piece was really great, not just in the dynamic between the two leads, but sort of navigating silence and showing sort of the quiet moments and the ruminative moments of what it means to sort of try to put yourself into a relationship that doesn't seem like it's giving the output that you want, and is not sort of operating in a way that's making both people very happy. I thought the ending really reflected that, and sort of having the girlfriend reflect an idea that both of them are probably not being loved properly in this dynamic, and what it means to sort of try to really maintain an adult relationship that functions outside of just like baseline chemistry and sex. So I thought it was a very interesting film. It was funny, especially with quiet moments, sort of a latent sense of sarcasm really worked. I thought the lead actresses in particular were very realistic and gave a very sort of relatable and accessible feel to the piece that made it easy to get into. So I guess that's why I ended up enjoying it so much.
Hey, I'm commenting on the short film Goodbye Sam. I think that this is really working well in a lot of ways. I especially think that sort of the messy romantic drama aspect of the piece is really coming through. I think it feels, pretty organic and believable, and all of your actors, I think, are doing a really good job of selling the emotion and just really making just the messiness and the complicatedness of this little tangled web feel really, really real. I think the one thing that you could really focus on to take this up a notch would be the sound design. Right now, it's feeling pretty sparse, and I think it's a little unbalanced. There are a few moments where I noticed echoes, and I get the feeling that's something that you're probably going to address in the future, but if not, I would definitely take a look at that and see what you could do to, just make sure that this is sounding as good as it can, because the story is great, and I think it's otherwise working really well. Nice job.
Goodbye Sam has this great sense of realism and naturalism to it. All the central performances feel utterly authentic and three-dimensional, and there's a real sense of history and relationship that exists between these characters that makes them very fleshed out and makes us care about them, especially with Sam. Both the performance and the film as a whole does a very, very good job of putting us in Sam's shoes, making us really feel her sense of emotional turmoil, which is perfectly illustrated by the sort of ending where Sam's desperately trying to keep Ava from seeing her best friend sleeping in her bed. The escalation of that tension and complexity works really well, and it's going to end badly, and you really don't want it to end badly. It just sort of breaks your heart when it all collapses in on Sam. So that works really well. But it's also got this very clever, sharp wit to it, which keeps it buoyant enough to stop it from becoming a bit too depressing. So I thought that's deployed really cleverly. And it's also punctuated by these moments of really kind of like stillness and silence, almost like Ozu, quite poetic. And what they really do is they give you the time to sort of stew in these emotions and let them land and really feel Sam's predicaments, which really kind of engages you a lot more. So I think that's really cleverly done, and all tease you up for that perfect emotional gut punch that is delivered by Ava at the end, which just really makes the whole film land and resonate, which is great.